So this Wednesday at our Roots class, we'll be talking about the historic episcopacy, which is to say bishops. The Episcopal Church literally means the church with bishops. So clearly we think a lot about this idea of having bishops and think it's important. One of the reasons why this is important to us and our way of being Christian is that bishops are kind of a mixed bag. When you look back through history, you find some incredibly helpful ones who taught wonderful things, wrote wonderful books, led certain causes, or gave the church courage in moments when it needed it. And you find others who were abject narcissists, cowards, villains even. And they're all part of this long, complicated history of bishops and leaders of the church. We think it's important to own that full stream, so we can look at someone like our presiding bishop, Michael Curry, who leads the Episcopal Church right now, who's a pretty inspiring figure. I mean, the guy's been on Oprah, he has a great way of preaching, people like him. But we also own Samuel Seabury, who was the first bishop of the Episcopal Church, and you might recognize him as one of the villains in the musical Hamilton, where he's kind of a jerk. He's also part of our story. We don't get to run away from him. This is useful for our way of being Christian because in other ways of being Christian, there can often be a habit to think that there's a way that you can start over with a clean slate and disown all the history that came before you. That you can say that me and my group of friends, along with our Bible and Jesus, we're going to restart. And it's just going to be like the early church, but this time we'll do it right. We won't make any missteps. And that way of thinking about what the church is can lead you to look back at something like the Crusades and say it wasn't us, it was somebody else. We bear no responsibility in relation to that because it simply wasn't us. Our way of owning our history, embodied by our bishops, points us in the opposite direction. It makes us look back at the Crusades and say, yeah, that was us. That was our siblings in faith. And we bear responsibility for what they did. We must engage in an ongoing process of historical repentance, owning and working with what we've inherited and trying to make it right as much as we can. We also celebrate the wonderful things that we inherit from the past. It's all mixed together, and that mixed quality of history is super important to our way of being Christian. Bishops become a kind of face for what I'm talking about. They become a kind of living part of that history that people can interact with, talk to, and see in action and pass on that role to someone else. It's important, it's complicated. There's way more that I could say about bishops and history and how these things relate in our way of being Christian, and I hope you'll join us this Wednesday for that conversation. Hope to see you there.